let's get a couple of things clear. I'm not trying to make my Model Y handle worse. I'm trying to get it to stop eating tires while still driving great every day. I'm Jason, and this, my Model Y, this is Rosie. This is part 3 of making my Model Y performance both ride better, handle better, and stop eating its tires. In part 1, we changed out our 21-inch Uber turbines for these 19-inch turbines with 275/45 square all the way around from EVNX. In part 2, I replaced all the front control arms with their blown out bushings with an OEM style replacement set, again from EVNX, for a couple of good reasons. 1, these ones were totally toast. 2, they offer a lifetime guarantee on their arms. And 3, she really needed it. Today in part 3, ChatGPT is gonna align my car through my phone. But before we can jump into the aligning of Rosie here, I've got her set up on my wheel cribs, I've got it on a lift. I know a lot of people aren't gonna go through this effort at home. My goal with this video is more to explain the alignment angles, why I'm aligning it the way I am, and why Tesla sets their alignment parameters the way they do from the factory. See, there is no perfect alignment for everybody. Tesla has to set up their alignment to fit a very wide range of people. Not to mention, they set it up slightly different between a performance and a non-performance. So they're looking for a lot of different things from that alignment that, again, isn't going to apply to everybody. Basically, the alignment is taking in 3 general principles: stability at high speed, the stability and control while under load or heavy acceleration and regen, and handling when the car is fully loaded. But this takes in a lot of assumptions. The first assumption is that you're running stock wheels and tires and their sizing. The second is that you've got occupants in the car and full of cargo. And the third is that you need the handling for some reason, other than the fact that maybe you're driving in a straight line on the freeway or highway or in-town roads. You're not really turning that hard or enough to actually use any real camber. And you're okay with the idea of replacing your tires in about half of their normal lifespan, which honestly, I'm not okay with that. See, the reality is most of the time this car has one person in it. It's going straight down the freeway, so do we need all the camber and tow for aggressive driving maneuvers? Probably not. Let me show you on the tires what that tow and camber actually does to the tires. Let's jump into what the different alignment parameters look like and what they mean on your car. If your tire is sitting straight up like this, it has no lean to one side or the other, it technically has 0 camber. If it leans in this direction towards the car, it's negative, and if it's leaning out this way, it's positive. Typically what you want is a slight bit of negative camber. What this is going to do is it's always going to be putting slightly more pressure on the inside edge. Now, when you're thinking about the next adjustment, you've got tow. Tow is the direction that your tire is facing relative to the car. So when you're turning the car, tow changes, but if you're driving straight and you have aggressive tow in, say like this, that means the car is going this way. And what's happening is you're scrubbing the tire across. When you look at these tires, you can see that we were scrubbing this direction, wearing the inside of the tire out and creating this really aggressive wear and ridge pattern. Did it have a little bit of camber? Yes. About 1.5 degrees. So not only is it causing tire wear from the tow, but the camber is then compounding that. Now, before all the armchair alignment techs jump out and down my throat and say you can't get rid of camber because it helps with cornering, I'm gonna agree with you. Yes, it helps with cornering, but it does absolutely nothing for the 90% of the miles while you're going straight. And if you're not aggressively turning the car and loading the tire, when you load the tire up, yes, it's going to lean out. That's where that negative camber comes in to give you more contact patch. But honestly, can any of you drive your car hard enough to load this car up and make it slide? I highly doubt it. This thing is really well balanced, has a ton of grip, and with the all-wheel drive, man, is it hard to push it, especially with the stability and traction controls on. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm saying in the real world, how are you going to do that without getting arrested on the road? So with my alignment numbers that I've come up with the help of ChatGPT, I'm going to attempt to keep good highway stability, good turn-in, reasonable performance. This isn't a backroads carver. It's for going fast in a straight line 99% of the time, and ultimately more tire wear. We're not going to need a lot of tools to make these adjustments. These are the primary tools here. We've got 21, 18, 18, and a 16. And then there's the 14 for the tie rod end. This is assuming that we don't have to make any camber adjustments. There are factory camber caster on the front and camber and toe on the rear. Marginal, but they are there. So I'm using the Gyraline DIY with the sensors in my phone. If this is something that you want me to expand on in a full video on this process, let me know. I already have one video on my 540 when I rebuilt the suspension on that car. But if you want to see it specifically for the Tesla, not that there's any real differences, I can make another video. All right, here are our numbers. And I know, again, the armchair alignment techs are gonna tell me that you can't do it like this because the car's not level and this isn't happening. And we've taken all that into account. We're trying to do our best here for a DIY home alignment. Really, we're just gonna get better tire wear out of this. Yes, going to your local alignment shop and spending the $100 or $200 is gonna be a fantastic option for 99% of people. I've done this alignment on all my other cars and I'm comfortable with it. So now that that's out of the way, our front camber, we have minus 0.95, 0.65, and in the rear, we have quite a bit more than I want. I'm shooting for a target of about 0.7 to 1.0 negative up front and 1 to 1.2 negative in the rear. So we are gonna have to adjust the rear a fair bit. Now, when it comes to the toe, this is where all my alignment problems were happening. This left rear tire is towed out quite a bit. Left front tire also towed out quite a bit. Now what happens up front is even if you only have one tire that's towed out, they're eventually going to equalize going down the road because of the force of the vehicle pushing forward, and it will wear both sides. So if I were to turn the wheel to the right, I'd have 0.25 and 0.20 or thereabouts, 0.225 on each side. What this is telling me is that the left side is the one that needs the most adjustment. We've got 3 points of adjustment for camber in the back here. Our lower control arm, there's slop built into this bolt housing, and up top, our upper aft arm, there's slop built into this bolt. By loosening any one of these 3, we can either move in or move out. We currently have too much negative camber. That's the oil pump running. That's crazy. We have too much negative camber, which means we need to pull the bottom this way, thus straightening the tire out a little bit. Ultimately, we're shooting for right around 1 degree if we can get it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with both of our bottoms here. We'll pull the wheel in as far as we can, retighten it, and see what happens. The difficulty is these are all supposed to be torqued at ride height, which means we have to figure out a way. I'm talking myself out of this already. I think I'm gonna just need adjustable camber arms. Here's my concern. This one is a bearing. Doesn't have to be adjusted at ride height. This one is a bushing, has to be adjusted at ride height. The one up top is a bushing, has to be adjusted at ride height. Which means we have to loosen it, try to push it in while the weight of the car is on it. How in the world are you supposed to do that effectively? You know what? I just sold myself on a set of adjustable camber arms. I'm not even gonna fiddle with this. I can explain it to you, and I'm gonna wuss out. I'm gonna be honest. Scary ghost tales. I'm gonna wuss out. I'm not gonna try to adjust these because that sounds absolutely ridiculous. And for the 10th or so degree of play that I've seen that you can get out of these, I don't know that that's exactly worth it. However, if I had an adjustable upper camber arm, I'd be able to maximize my camber settings. Up front, I think we might be able to get it to where we want. Let's check out up front, because this is pretty ridiculous. You know, it's kind of funny when you start doing a project, how things can change. I was fully thinking that I was gonna adjust those rear camber arms until I thought logically while we're back there about loading them up properly to get them torqued the way that they're supposed to be torqued. And I just don't see how that's logical. So let me know down in the comments, would you have tried to adjust it or would you go for the adjustable arm so you could do it right? To make our camber adjustments up front, we're gonna loosen the upper control arm mount. This is only applicable if you have a non-structural pack car, which means it was produced in Fremont, right? Just Fremont? The structural pack cars were produced in Austin and Giga Berlin, I believe.
Either of these cities.
Yeah. So if you have a non-structural pack, you can do this, which is what we have. The structural pack cars are the ones with the 4160 battery. I'm still learning here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna loosen the upper control arm bolts, or the housing bolts. These are a 13 and a 15, and then we're gonna try to push the whole control arm mount in, giving it slightly more negative camber to match the driver's side. And you can see that I have each one of my bolts marked already from when I replaced the control arms in the last video. So we're just gonna go in the top here, and we're gonna try to push them all over evenly, a smidge, so as to not induce any additional caster. Because caster is gonna be the forward and backwards movement of the strut. Camber is gonna be the in and out movement of the strut. And we're going for a very nominal change here. In fact, we're just about maxed out right there. So in the instructions, what it says to do is to re-torque these to 30 Newton meters, which is not your final torque, but it's enough to do a new camber check and caster swing. Oh, that got really lucky. It landed right on top of the super manifold instead of falling all the way down. All right, so after making our adjustment, it looks like it brought it up 1/10 of a degree, maybe, to 0.7. So not a whole lot of change here. I did a calibration offset, I jounced the vehicle, we're just double checking. We got 0.75 here, which tells me that the little bit of adjustment that is there is exactly that, a little bit. What did I got 0.15 to 0.10 or 0.1 of a degree, which means if you want any meaningful camber adjustment, you're gonna have to again go to an adjustable upper control arm in order to get that. I don't think that in my case, I want that. It's gonna be close enough. My cross camber right now is 0.2. It's not gonna give me a pull or anything like that. So I'm gonna be okay with it. All right, we're under the back. Everything is squawking at us because we're in neutral. And I'm gonna show you where our toe adjustment is to start. This right here is our toe arm. And this is a factory eccentric. What that means is that you have some toe adjustment there. If your car is aggressively lowered, you may need an adjustable toe arm in addition to this eccentric. What we're gonna do is start here and pull our front end of the tire in to get a slight bit of toe in instead of that aggressive toe out that's there. I've marked it so I can see about how far I've gone and have some reference for where I'm at. We've got an 18 on both sides here. And I've got Judah on the outside over there with our adjustment tool so he can see which direction we're moving when we start moving the eccentric. Okay, that should be pulling, what's that? 0.35. 0.35, okay.
0.15.
Positive?
Yeah, still positive. 0.1, 0.05.
Oh. We wanted about 0.1 positive in. Yeah, you can see it under here moving quite a bit. 0.05 out. All right, that's close enough to get us started for camber. Up front, we're gonna need a 21 and a 14 to adjust toe on our tie rod. Now, honestly, if you just adjusted toe in the front and the back, you're gonna solve 90% of your tire wear problems. Camber wears tires, but toe makes the camber worse, and it wears tires out significantly faster. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring in the front a little bit, then we're gonna deal with camber just because we can while we're here. 0.15 out, okay. We're going for near zero. Zero right there? Yeah. All right, I'm gonna call that then. Okay, Rosie's back on the ground. She's all torqued up, and we have a couple more things we need to take care of. We're in service mode here, and we're looking at our steering and alignment, or our applied offset. And our applied offset is negative 2.1, which was green, which means technically it didn't need an alignment according to this system. Obviously, we made a bunch of changes here, so what we're gonna have to do is go out to a straight road, clear the applied offset, and then do the offset drive test. So let's get out there and do that first. So I'm making a bunch of assumptions here, but I believe that we need to go and clear the offset. So clear applied offset, clear angle offsets for electronic stability program, electronic power assist, clear steering angle offset for the drive inverter, reset soft stops, run EPAS. Okay, let's try it. Okay, this operation will unlock the gateway and allow task execution. To perform this operation, release shift into park. Okay, clear applied offset. Okay, so it's cleared. Now we need to do the offset drive test. Okay, back to chassis, alignment, back to our drive test. Now we should be solid. Test failed, yep. It feels like it's off just a little bit. Looks like I'm gonna have to put her back on the blocks and try again. Well, we're green now, but what in the world happened? Well, the first thing that I could think of was I asked Judah, hey, when you set the steering wheel straight, where did you put it? Well, he put it over here to the side because he thought that he was trying to get it to line up with the dash kind of at an angle this way. He's 14, he hasn't done a lot of alignment, so we came back, we straightened out the wheel, we did the alignment a few more times to just get everything right where we wanted. Now it drives nice and straight. We are still getting a small offset of 2.6, and I'm not exactly sure why, but it's green, the car drives straight, and I'm happy. So where do we go from here? Well, my Mountain Pass upper camber arms came in, and these things are freaking gorgeous. The machine work, the quality, everything about them is 110%, top notch. I'm really excited to get these in and to get the alignment dialed back in again. We'll get the rear camber set. I'll think about whether or not I want their front upper control arms. In the future, I want to get a Model 3 Performance that I can also track alongside my M5, which means I'll be getting a lot more Mountain Pass parts for that. So hey, why not on Rosie do a little bit of practice? My wife drives this car most of the time. It's a commuter for us. It's just really fun commuter by comparisons to a lot of other cars in a straight line, so to speak. Plus, we like a lot about the car, don't get me wrong. Anyhow, I really appreciate you watching. Hopefully you got something out of this. I realize that the video is a little bit long in the tooth and kind of complicated. You're probably just gonna get an alignment done at your local alignment shop. Mostly what I'm trying to say is go a little bit less aggressive, especially on the toe numbers that Tesla gives you from the factory. If you can have a conversation with your alignment tech and explain what you're trying to accomplish, they might be willing to do it. I know I would have back in the day when I was an alignment tech. I would have said, hey, well, what numbers do you want? Let me put that on the screen and I'll make it happen. Not everybody will do that, so a conversation is always worthwhile. Either way, I appreciate you watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And if you could hit that like and subscribe, it'd really help.